Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Burning Question series by Fantasy Football Scout. In this series, Pras and Sonaldo talk about the key hot topics for the week. We're glad to be back in a very, very long game week 23. It's been 2 weeks since I last spoke to you, Pras. Pras, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're still in game week 23. There's another game in 4 days, but no, I'm doing very well. I think for me it was actually a welcome break because games were so thick and fast. There was a little bit of fatigue as well with postponements and last minute changes to the team. I felt like the phase that we've just gone through was a very reactive phase, even though we tried to plan as best as we could, but very interesting that we're now heading into a phase which I think will be the planning phase. So very excited.
Awesome. So, if you don't mind, could you introduce the topics for today?
Yeah. So today, what we're going to do is we will, this is going to be a recurring theme where we do a little bit of planning just to get people's brains thinking about what they should be doing, especially in a season like this. So we'll talk about how the next 6 game weeks could look like. I mean, we already know there's a couple of doubles that have been put into 25. But what happens thereafter, and how can you best navigate this period with free hits and wildcards? The other element to the planning is Salah. We obviously know that Egypt are now in the semi-finals. What does that mean in terms of those who don't have him? Should they get him now or potentially wait for later? And we'll cover game week 25, double game week 25 options. We know that Man United and Brighton have a double. Potentially could be more, but it'll be great to discuss a few options on where we're thinking on there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot going on right now in the whole kind of landscape of FPL, and people may be very aware of what's going on. Information is coming at us, fast and really fast. So hopefully, this episode will help sort of organize your thoughts. And of course, there's going to be more doubles announced, more fixtures to be planned for, but. We'll try to go through some hot topics for the week as usual. But before we do and get to the crux of today's episode, I do want to do a quick price reveal of the new players that are incoming, and none other than the great Christian Eriksen is back in the Premier League. And just a quick word on this process as a Heung-min Son fan, and someone who fell in love with the sort of 2018-19 Tottenham season where they made the Champions League final run. That desk lineup was very, very influential to a lot of Koreans. I mean, Dele Ali was still, performing pretty well. Under Poch, they were doing very, very, very well, and Eriksson was such a key element to that team and really helped Son develop as well. So it's just really nice to see him back playing football. I just hope he continues to stay healthy and, welcome back Christian Eriksen. There's also Luis Diaz, who's been signed to Liverpool, which is a very interesting signing. And there's some stat kind of like comparison with Mane, and he's very very similar to what Jota and Mane were prior to what they became at Liverpool. So it's very interesting their transfer tips or transfer policies. So nice to see that. And finally, very hard to pronounce, and our good friend FPL Pig Ronald is Dutch, and he did a very funny video on Twitter about how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Wout. So
Weghurst. Let's just
Weghurst.
go with
Okay,
that.
let's just go
Yeah.
with Weghurst. But
Yeah.
again, 6.5 Burnley, and Burnley have four fixtures to make, a bunch of doubles to come. So very interesting. I think all three we would wait just to see. The Ericsson one's very interesting because it opens up the option of a 5.3 in Mbuemo again. And, does he make Tony better? Is Ericsson going to continuously play in that team? So we'll be very keen to watch what happens. Plus, the new Spurs boys have also been part of the FPL landscape as well. So a lot of interesting new options this game week. What do you think?
Yeah, I think lovely to have Ericsson back, like you said. I mean, with him, let's forget about FPL, right? I mean, it's more good to see the player back. And you said all the right things about him, the nostalgia with having him, those decisions of Ericsson versus Ali versus Son. And yeah, it's lovely that this transfer window we've had Coutinho back, we've had Ericsson back, so it's almost for for the people who've played this game for a while, these were like hygiene picks. And for boring managers like myself, who like picks who tick along, who do well over a long period, this guy was the best to own, because he'd just get you the assist here, some bonus, a few goals spread around that as well. So yeah, great to have him. Not an FPL pick from my side at all, I think, but he does improve the appeal of Mbuemo and Tony, simply because he's just not trained for 7 months.
Mm.
He's come here to regain a little bit, to self-discover if he can play football at that level. And look, I wish him the best. I hope that after 3-4 weeks we see more of him. But I think from an FPL perspective, it's definitely you wait and see how fit he is, how he's able to influence games again. Is he able to last 90 minutes? Is he playing? If there's 2 weeks, 2 games in a week, will that be something he'd be able to do?
Mm.
On Diaz, I think it's obvious what you said. He's a great signing, but it's one for the future. So unless a Mane is injured or away, I don't see him. He'll take his time to bed in, but I think the pricing is fine, because if there is an injury, or if he does kind of by the back end of the season become somebody who starts regularly, then even 8 million is very cheap. So I think from my perspective, the pricing is fair. And then Weghorst, I'm very interested. I
Mm.
think given that Burnley have so many games to reschedule, he is a guy who is a known goal scorer. His play suits the way Burnley play, and they've got all these games to reschedule. He'll definitely be in all of our teams, I'm sure, before the end of the season. So excited that he's joined.
Yeah, I think Pras, your volume is a little bit quiet, so if you don't mind speaking a little
Oh,
bit
okay.
closer. Um, but okay, cool. And also Newcastle, right? Newcastle have a completely restructured back line, so it'd be very interesting to watch how they perform defensively. I mean, they're doing everything they can to stay in the Premier League after this season, so very interesting there. I know they signed a new midfielder too. I'm blanking on the name right now, but from my understanding, he's a center defensive mid, and we really unfortunately don't want to be grabbing too many, if any, Newcastle assets. To be fair, so yeah, a lot of new transfers should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I've fixed my audio, by the way, so hopefully this
Oh,
should be
perfect.
better.
Yep,
Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, guys. Again, in the introduction, we mentioned that today we'll go through some chip strategies. I know a lot of people may be confused, so we'll go through that, and then we'll do sort of what are we going to do with Salah? When do we need him back? And then some assets for the double game week in 25, and sort of this whole thing will kind of help your team and kind of get an idea of what you want to do, as well as we'll talk about our teams as well. So maybe if we have some similarities as the viewers, that can help. Quickly, do you want to sort of go through this fixture ticker? Again, this is
Yeah.
by Lego Mane. Lego Mane always some great visuals that is a must follow on Twitter. So yeah, Pras.
Yeah, so yeah, he's the guy. I love his table mainly because he also includes the midweeks, and I've mentioned this in previous videos. Because when you look at the midweeks, then you can easily think and look at it and say, okay, this team cannot double in a certain game week, right? I mean, for example, if you look at the column of game week 26 and you look at Man United, you already know that they play Leeds, and in the midweek they're playing Atletico Madrid, the ATM that you see next to it. So therefore, you know that Man United cannot double in 26. So I like this way of presentation where you can yourself think for the future and plan. So we've shown this for the next 6 weeks, because in the next 6 weeks you've got a couple of things happening. The transfer window is shut. The postponements, we think, given that the Premier League have now revisited the threshold, now they actually need to be COVID cases for postponements to happen, and they need to be in the team, not just staff. So I think the threshold is high enough that you can now start planning. Games will be more predictable. So this is the time where people with chips in their hand uh, need to start thinking, what is my strategy going forward? And we already know about game week 24. So for those wondering, game week 24 will not be a double because it's a midweek game. And so you have all these singles, which are all predictable. The only team that is blanking here is obviously Chelsea, which we know is away, and Brighton. So a word of caution on Brighton. Those people who are looking at their assets, they will obviously have a double in 25, but they will have a blank in 24. So that's one to look out for. 25, at the moment, we know that Man United play Southampton and Brighton at home. That's the double. and Brighton play Watford and Man United away, both away games. That's also a double. That's the only one that's been announced. As far as we know, that's the only double that we will see. There could be a possibility at the back end of this week. I think we've all now been trained not to do anything until close to the deadline, so not to worry. We will know by this weekend what is happening with the doubles. But I think for the moment it's safe to assume that it's only Man United.
Mm.
And the reason why some of the smaller teams haven't had a double, by the way, for those who are curious, is because it's also a European midweek. And we know that games aren't scheduled in the European midweek unless they're absolutely necessary. And why they're doing it for Man United is in case they go further in the Champions League. I know a lot of you will laugh that they won't, probably right. But in case they go, then there'll be less midweeks to schedule this. So therefore, one thing we can learn from these midweek rescheduling is that some of the bigger teams may get these doubles during the European weeks leading up to this 6 weeks. So you'll see this when we talk about the other game weeks. So game week 25, I think we're set. And Sonaldo, you're going to talk about these teams in particular. But let's talk about game week 26. Now, there's nothing announced in game week 26, but we do have very strong rumors that Spurs versus Brighton could be a game that's scheduled in game week 26. This basically means that Brighton could potentially have a double-double. And it means that, Spurs would obviously have a double game week, which would be a very interesting dynamics. And this is where getting Salah will come into it, captaincy will come into it, Man United assets will come into it, because most people will look to go Ronaldo to Kane or would go Bruno to Son. So therefore, you would have an easy path to doing that. But remember that if potentially Spurs have a double in 26, one of them will be away to Man City. So you'll have this dilemma where Man United play Leeds away, which is obviously a great fixture, but it comes right before the Atletico Madrid game. Or do you actually switch to a doubler where you have a Harry Kane and you can get him for away to Man City, where probably he'll do not much, but then you have the double against the second game against Brighton. I suspect many will still make the move, but that's on 26. So before I move forward, Sonaldo, any thoughts on 25, 26? And does that alter your thinking, or how does that affect your team?
Yeah, I think the double in 25 makes, again, we're going to get to the Salah portion, but as someone that doesn't have an easy route to Salah, I actually kind of appreciate this double, and as well as them making it so far in the AFCON because of I think 2-3 days before he returns on February 10th, followed by game week the next game week on February 13th. So you just mentioned Atletico Madrid, and I think it's very important that the FPL managers realize that the Champions League is now in full effect, and so all the big teams will have, for sure, rotation, as well as Man City. Right, Man City have already, for me, in my opinion, I think they will probably win the title, which means that they're gonna sort of have a point gap, and they're gonna start resting players and focus on the Champions League. And same with the other teams. With February has a lot of fixtures, so what I would recommend is to kind of see the dates between each fixture, because sometimes they have like a 2-3 day turnaround followed by another 2-3 day turnaround followed by another one. So I know we have a long break right now, but we're about to get into the crunch period. The Spurs if the 26th fixture of Spurs gets announced, although it is Man City, I actually would kind of like that, because I want to delay the Salah coming into my team as much as possible. Although a lot of managers who do have Salah right now, I think you're in a pretty decent position. On the note of Salah, do you think in 24 he does play or not, Pras?
So I mean, I was gonna Let's talk about Salah now, because he is somebody. I think, look, the situation we'll be in, there's not going to be any press conference before the game. So the only time Klopp will speak will be before this weekend's FA Cup game. So Liverpool play Cardiff, I think, at home. Before this, we will hear Klopp. Klopp doesn't even know if Salah's made it to the final by this stage, right? So Klopp's going to say, look, the boys are still there. He's doing well. I'm proud of everyone and whatever. He's not going to say, yeah, if he makes the semi-final, we're going to call him back early or something like that. So we will know nothing going into the deadline of game week 24 if Salah's back. We do know that even after the final, he has 3 days to come back to Liverpool. So my gut feeling is he could start or be on the bench. But what I definitely know is people won't be captaining him. It'll take a very bold person to captain him, even though it's a fixture against Leicester, who've been, in terms of XG conceded, pretty low in the recent past. So therefore, I think people who have him actually have a little bit of an advantage. They won't captain, but they will hold him and the others will hesitate. So if he goes nuts against Leicester, let's say he scores a brace, you will get those points to yourselves, because people like you and me who don't have Salah will find a way to say, okay, maybe I'll go KDB, or maybe I'll hold on to Bruno, or maybe I'll just save a transfer. And I think this is what will happen in game week 24. Game week 25, obviously he's going to be fit. He's going to be away to Burnley, but then he'll be competing with a Bruno Fernandes who'll have a double game week. I actually don't think, we'll come to Man United assets in due course, but somebody who has a Salah and a Ronaldo versus somebody who has a Bruno and a Ronaldo, I think it's fine to have Salah. I think I personally will probably have Salah for that game week and not go Bruno, but mine is a little bit of a special situation, which I'll come to in the end. So having Salah through this run is absolutely fine, except for one particular chip strategy, which we will come to, where you're dead-ending your team for game week 27, which we will come to. But I think getting Salah back for all the reasons, I mean, we've had such variance with captaincy. He's a guy who's performed. He'll probably even be selfishly saying to Klopp that I'm fit for Burnley. We'll see what happens. I think, but what I do know is nobody's captaining Salah for Leicester at home.
And also, there was a lot of postponements in January, but I'm sure a lot of people are aware, but the postponement, restrictions and rules have become a little bit more stricter. So we're hoping that, a little bit of FPL normality will resume. So hopefully that's the case. And the last note before we move on is that, yeah, Brighton do have a double-double, but that does not mean you need to be stacking up on Brighton unless one of your chip strategies might be to wildcard out of it in 28, which again we'll get to. But I'm not very keen on their assets, and I'm sure we'll speak on that very soon. So let's move to the next slide.
Wait, let's do 27, 28. We've got a few more.
Okay.
So on game week 27, so this one we already know that. In 26, one thing we didn't talk about, and this is going to be interesting. Liverpool and Arsenal could have a double as well.
Yep.
And that's going to be massive. If Liverpool and Arsenal have a double in 26, because again, if you look at this table, they have a free midweek. So the same logic applies that these are two teams, Liverpool especially, who can go further in the European competitions. So why would you not schedule the midweek where they have a free midweek? And so do Arsenal, by the way, and so do Norwich. So Liverpool could have their fixture, the Leeds fixture in the double game week 26, which is when a lot of people are thinking of triple captaining, or they could also have this away to Arsenal fixture that is scheduled in 26. Now, if that happens, of course, everyone will have Salah and everyone will be either captaining or triple captaining. So therefore, when we're thinking about chip strategy, when we're thinking about Salah or no Salah, Liverpool getting a double will absolutely make or break that strategy. So that's one thing to add on 26, but there've been no rumors so far on that I'm aware of, but one to monitor. So let's go to 27. The 27 blanks are known because that's the Carabao Cup final. So I'm not going to repeat because we've done this in the previous videos, but we know Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Leicester will blank. But by that time, either you're set on the strategy that we'll talk about, which is dead ending to 27, or so you won't have many Liverpool and Arsenal, maybe 2 or 3. So it's actually pretty benchable as well. And there's going to be no doubles in 27. So this is again something for people to remember, because in the midweek you have the FA Cup 5th round. So in 27 you will have 4 blanks and no doubles. Then in 28 we have the Champions League weekend again. So the only big teams that could get doubles, and this is also likely, is Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yep.
So Chelsea coming back from their Super Cup, they will basically have a lot of fixtures to reschedule. There is a thinking that, again, even though it's a European week, Chelsea are a big team, they could go further. Let's schedule their game. So Arsenal-Chelsea is likely as a double in game week 28. So one to monitor. Again, this will make it very difficult because Arsenal is blanking in 27 and then doubling in either 26 or 28. So this is what people need to think about. Am I offloading my Arsenal assets and then free hitting? Then you're not really making use of the free hit. So if you're free hitting in 27, keep your Arsenal assets because they could double in 26 or 28. If you're not free hitting, maybe offload your Arsenal assets and think about how you will navigate the doubles if they do get a double. So this is why we're doing this 6 week window doubles or blanks, so that you can actually think about your transfers now on who do you want to retain versus who do you want to sell.
And Burnley
Uh,
Spurs could also fit into game week 28, right?
Potentially. So if you look at Burnley, so Spurs have a free midweek, of course, and Burnley has well. The logic there could be that none of them are in Europe anymore, so they have enough time later. But yes, that is a free midweek for the game to be scheduled. But as I mentioned, they have a soft agreement with the Champions League or UEFA in general that unless we can
Right.
really not find any other slot, we won't schedule anything. All right, so let's go to 29 then.
Mm-hmm.
So game week 29 is I think Liverpool is free.
Free. Mm-hmm.
So if Liverpool versus Arsenal is not scheduled in 26, it can definitely be scheduled in 29. So I would say think about Arsenal players as ones who will pretty likely double either in 26 or in 28 or in 29. And it could actually be two doubles as well. So don't get rid of your Arsenal assets unless you're planning to free hit. And this is why I think free hitting in 27 for those who have two free hits left is actually a great play, because you get to retain the Ramsdales and the Martinelli and the Sakas, and you get their doubles, and you don't get the pain of having to bench them or anything in 27. And then the 31, I won't spend much time on. 30, we already know is the big FA Cup quarterfinal week. And I will talk about 30 again when we talk about chip strategy. So let's park that one for now. But this is basically a kind of high level view on where we're seeing the doubles fit in the next 6 weeks.
Yep. And 30 already know Arsenal and Villa is on, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so ready to move to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. Well done explaining there. Hopefully, we went through the next, I think, 6 game weeks and sort of what's going to happen in the landscape of fixtures. So here, this is a quick presentation of people may be worried that they don't have two free hits. Maybe they're missing a chip. A lot of managers also in the top 10K have all chips left to play, but it kind of just shows that a lot of people have actually used their I guess their first initial free hit when it was first announced earlier. I think in game week 19 or something like that. So here, what we have is sort of chips used in the top 10K. Chips used overall, and the number of chips used down below. So, a lot of people, 44%, have not used any chips. I have not used any chips, and I'm aware, Pras, you have not used any chips as well. But a lot of people have used one chip, and that is most likely the free hit chip. So, anything to add here? I mean, nothing that stands out.
No, I think we showed this slide a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And just to say that not many people have used free hits as of now. So most of your competition is holding 1.5 free hit chip, if you wanted to think about it that way, and the wild card. So that's what you're up against. So fair play if you wanted to use your free hit in another double that's coming up, or but I think if you want to compete with these guys in the top 10K, they are obviously using these free hit chips and planning their wild card around it to best maximize the doubles and the blanks. And this is what we will try to do in the next slide.
Okay, fantastic. So this next slide is quite helpful. I think it's a chart that organizes the different chip strategies, that can be played, especially with both free hits or one free hit left, as this is the majority of most people. So I guess their volume is still off, Pras.
Yours is low and mine is too high.
Are you guys struggling with the volume, guys? We keep having volume issues. I apologize.
I can reduce mine again.
Okay.
And then
My volume is low.
I'm going to test my. Okay, I've reduced my volume now.
Okay,
So
hopefully this is better.
People could just increase their volume. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. I appreciate the patience. So yeah, we have a few chip strategies. Maybe I can present the what to do if you have both free hits first. So you could, as you mentioned, free hit in 27, free hit in 30, and you can wildcard either in 31 to 34, or the second would be a wildcard in 28. The third one would be a wildcard in 28, followed by a free hit in 30, free hit 33, 34. And then we have the free hit 27, wildcard 31, free hit 33, 34. Could you explain why you're suggesting a free hit in 33, 34, Pras?
So yeah, maybe let's just take it one by one. So we're talking about the left column first. So those listening, this is if you have both free hits. So the first one, we're talking about a free hit in 27 and a free hit in 30. This is going to be the most popular strategy, by the way. And okay, now my volume is too low because I changed it. One second. All right, now it's back up and we're not changing it, guys. So just adjust.
Okay.
Okay, so the most popular strategy is going to be free hit 27, free hit 30 for those who have two left, and then wildcard between 31 and 34. Now, we didn't use this episode to talk about 31 and 34, but in 31 to 34, we're going to have a little bit of some doubles, some blanks, and potentially a game week with blanks and doubles, which is 33. So right now, it's very hard to say which would be the best week. And by the way, more recently, I think Ben mentioned that if the quarterfinal of the FA Cup falls in 34, then 33 could be a massive double and 34 could be a blank game week. So it's too far out right now to say what we'll do in this. So this is why the wildcard window is a little bit broad here in terms of 31 to 34. You could basically, what you want to do with the wildcard is you want to capture some doublers as well in that week because you can't use any other chip, and then set up for the bench boost as well. So whenever that is, that's for later. But free hit 27 and 30 basically does two things. 27, you get to keep your Liverpool assets, boomerang out of them, keep your Arsenal assets, boomerang out of them, and in 27 target City, Man United. And by the way, Man United assets, you all have them now, and you think you'll have them for 27, but you may not. Because if Spurs have the double, we talked about it, you'll move your Ronaldo to your Kane, you move your Bruno to your Son. So either you'll be transferring them back again for the good fixture in 27, or you'll just be stuck with Spurs assets. And ideally, if you look at game week 27, the teams with the best fixtures, Man United play Watford at home, West Ham play Wolves at home. I guess most people have Wolves already. Crystal Palace have Burnley. So they're actually targetable fixtures that you can. Brentford play Newcastle at home. I mean, Newcastle are much stronger now, but there are fixtures that you can actually target to go for these games. And a free hit in 27 to me makes a lot of sense because you'll be able to take advantage of the Liverpool and Arsenal potential doubles around 27. So as I said, free hit 27, free hit 30 will be the two more popular strategies. The second one that we've said is free hit 27, wildcard 28. Now, I have to admit, over the last 10 days, I have given this a lot of thought, and this is I think a great idea for people who are thinking about it. Because what you can do is you dead end your team to 27. Now, you could use a free hit for 27, or maybe those with one free hit left don't even need to do that. And this is the third option we presented with one free hit left. So what you do is you dead end your team for game week 27, and then you wildcard in 28. Do you have the next slide, Sonaldo, where you have this, where I showed this fixtures from 28?
Yeah, I presented it as two different things, but why don't we kind of go to this next one because it shows everything.
Yeah, we'll come back to this as well.
Okay. So let's go back. Do you want to do the wildcard 28 or not, or which shows kind of the fixture swings in game week 28? Or
yeah, let's go to that. I just want to show why wildcard 28 is actually an amazing idea for those who can get their team around it, and we'll come back to the other chips in a second.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, quickly, what we see here is fixtures from 28 to 32, and I think a lot of managers on Twitter are now aware that 28 is a big fixture swing. I mean, Chelsea, for one, have amazing fixtures moving forward, and right now we're trying to hop off all the Chelsea assets, right, because of their blanks coming up. As you mentioned, Arsenal have pretty solid options, and we're going to want one of the Martinellis or the Sakas, and if you do have them now, and plus Ramsdale, so there's that. I think you hop off De Gea at that time and go to Ramsdale. Wolves, Ait Nori becomes a fantastic option in my opinion at 4.3. Very solid defensively. Rafinha, Leeds. I mean, there's some solid fixture. Broja, Southampton, Leicester boys, Madison. We're gonna think about Madison as well. So definitely a fixture swing in 28, which is why 28 wildcard is very enticing to me personally.
Exactly. And actually at the bottom, if you look, so most of our teams are stacked with Liverpool or will be by the time Salah comes back. We're now, all of us are targeting Man United and Brighton, who are actually at the bottom of this fixture list from 28.
Exactly.
Then you have West Ham already. People have Antonio and you have Bowen. Man City, we can ignore. Their fixtures are irrelevant. Some have Everton assets left from the double. So basically all the teams that have doubled, that we all ran and flocked to for their doubles, have terrible fixtures after 28. And we're living in a season where everybody has Salah, Trent, Cancelo, and maybe a Man City mid in the future. So in these, the way to differentiate is these 7 players. And for me, when I looked at my team, all these 7 players are in that bottom 5. So then I'm thinking my game week 28, 29 is going to be really poor if I wait around for the wild card in 31 or 32. Why not just wild card in 28 and potentially save the free hit? Maybe if you don't need a Salah. So coming back to these people who don't have Salah and they don't want Salah because they think that they won't captain Salah. I'm not suggesting that's the best way, but you could think like that he misses the Leicester game. Then after that, anyway, you'd prefer Bruno. After that, if Spurs double, you'd anyway prefer Son, and then he blanks. So therefore, there is a logic to saying, I'm going to avoid Salah. I'm going to sell Jota in 26, and Trent I can maybe bench in 27. And so therefore, you actually are well set up for 27, and then you just wild card out of it.
Yeah,
Or
and
if you wanted to free hit as well, that's an option.
And Pras, a couple things to mention about 28. The chat is really good at kind of picking out some players, and yeah, Jose Sa is a great option. I can't remember. Nehal mentioned Jose Sa, and I'm really keen on the Wolves defense, so another great option there. Game week
Yeah.
33, I hope, or 34 gets announced before the wild card in 28. If you do play the wild card in 28, because that would make life a bunch easier. But slight doubt there.
We won't know. No, we
Yeah.
won't know game week 33.
Okay.
But another massive advantage of game week 28 wildcard is if you go back to Lego Money. I mean, you don't need to show it, but just before game week 28 is the FA Cup 5th round, which means on the midweek between 27 and 28, you'll have the complete 100% picture of game week 30 because you will know which are the teams who've progressed to the quarterfinal, and hence those are the teams that will blank. So when you're wildcarding in 28, you'll have a complete picture of 30 as well. And there you can then decide do I need a free hit to navigate 30, or maybe I can avoid the free hit for later. So you will basically be planning for the future with complete knowledge, albeit the fact that by game week 31, 32 is only when you will find out about the 34 and 36 doubles, or even 33 doubles. So this is a little bit of I was not thinking of 28 wildcard at all until I had some time to reflect this midweek, and I think this international break.
Yeah, and also
I think it's a great strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. I mean, also you have to realize the season ends game week 38, and if you're holding on to your wild card 31, 32, whenever as late as possible, sure, there's advantages to it, but if you wildcard in 28, there's only 10 game weeks left. So you want to be maximizing the most out of it. I guess the logic can be flawed if you're, a wildcard is only effective for 4 or 5 game weeks. That depends on the landscape of fixtures and how you think about it. But I do think that 28, especially because you try to wildcard when you have more than 5 or 6 or 7 players that you really want to change. And as you mentioned, there's 6 or 7 template players who are at the bottom of the fixture. So if you get those additional players, that's going to be a big advantage moving forward, I do believe. So let's move on to the next one, which is free hit 27 or not. I think you're keen on a free hit in 27. So, a couple questions. Can we wait till Salah till 28? So Jota, Ramsey, Martinelli, Saka. What do we do? Liverpool, Arsenal double in 26. So please do explain what you think about a free hit in 27.
So the things to consider for free hit 27 is, of course, if you have 2, I think free hit 27 is a more of a luxury free hit. People can navigate it by putting Salah on the bench and maybe Trent and one more, whether that's Jota or a Saka or. So I think you can navigate, but as I mentioned, you can actually attack it. So if Arsenal and Liverpool double in 26, you can attack it by going 3 Arsenal, 3 Liverpool, which people without the free hit can never do. So that's the idea of the free hit. The other one is you could potentially basically say that I don't, I'll if I'm selling Jota and I don't want Salah, then you don't need to free hit. So it's basically that thinking, which you should consider if you're looking at it or not. So I think you covered it. If Arsenal and Liverpool double, I think the free hit 27 is a no-brainer. If Spurs double in 26, then I think a lot of people will just avoid Salah and then just roll through 27 like it's a blank game week. and they'll just bench a Trent. So it really depends on how the doubles pan out. But at this stage, I'm thinking that the double for Liverpool or Arsenal will be very close to the 26. And currently I have Martinelli, Ramsdale, Jota, Trent. So I have four, and I'll probably get Salah as well, keeping Jota. So I think having five, then I think free hit makes sense for me.
Nice. Also, guys, Prakash just mentioned that Son is back in training and could play in the FA Cup. I know he, recently posted an Instagram post of him nearing his return. So my guy Heung-min Son is almost back. So do watch out for how he does in the next few game weeks. And I'm sure he's going to start scoring again. So very excited for that. Just a little quick plug on my favorite player. Okay, the next one is dead end for 30, for a free hit in 30. So what do we have here? The fixtures that we played between 4 and 7. Could you explain this chart here?
Yeah, so this is basically the FA Cup that we're going to see on this weekend. So these are the fixtures for this weekend's FA Cup game. Now, the teams that win aren't the ones that will blank. They will obviously go into the fifth round, and then the ones that win that will be the ones that go through. So just looking at probabilities of teams that will likely make it through this, I mean, it was actually a very kind draw to most Premier League teams, and those are the ones that matter to us in terms of the blank game week thinking for 30. So as we've said before, Arsenal Villa already have a game because they're both out. So the one that is or one that could be likely is Everton if they lose to Brentford, which you see here, which is the fixture, I think the last one here on the table. So Everton Brentford. If they lose, then we have the second game, which is confirmed, which will be Everton Watford. Now, this will be an interesting one. And why I bring it up is because Everton, a lot of us have DCL or Gray, or some even have Keane, from the double that we had. And of course, a lot of us very stupidly also have Watford attackers, maybe even Foster. So if you're now looking into a scenario, if Everton lose to Brentford, then suddenly people will think, okay, 30 is pretty navigatable. We don't need to use a free hit. I can just dead end my team. So definitely watch out for the FA Cup games this week. And what will happen after this is basically a lot of people will take the round 5 fixtures and then assign probabilities based on basically betting odds. And you will now start to see after this weekend a very clear picture of what is the percentage chance of a Liverpool Man United game happening. And using betting odds, I sort of looked at who are the teams that have the most likely chance of a blank. I think the Liverpool Man United game in Game Week 30 is pretty much a blank because one of those teams will make the quarterfinal. The City Brighton game, I mean, if you assume City continue to take cup games seriously, so City Brighton should be a blank. So you already know there's a very high chance of these teams being blanking. So if you're on a dead end strategy, think of your team, look at your team, and if you have lots of Liverpool, Man United, City, and Brighton assets like I do, there's no chance that I'm going to be dead ending my team to 30. I mean, it's so far off. And then the other fixture is Chelsea Norwich, which again, if Chelsea progresses, it's probably going to be a blank. So what we're looking at, and this is obviously early thinking, we'll revisit this after the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, or the fifth round is announced, so we can discuss probabilities. But you're looking at Arsenal Villa as the confirmed game, maybe Everton Watford, maybe Burnley Southampton, Newcastle Palace, Leicester Brentford, and Wolves Leeds. Now, if this doesn't sound very exciting, it's not. And this is traditionally why people use the free hit. And they say, look, there's no chance I'm owning more than 5 players from this set of teams. So I'm just going to free hit. So this is what people need to think about.
Yeah.
And that's the way.
Yeah. And Pras, first of all, your knowledge and kind of your analysis and love for FPL is showing today, especially. So quick shout out to you.
I do this every year. It's just now I'm on video.
Yeah, I can feel the passion and I just love listening to you. So really good research here. So I kind of want to help summarize what you just mentioned. So basically, for this strategy, the two questions you have to the question you have to ask yourself is: are you heavy on Arsenal and Villa already? And so if Everton lose to Brentford, then Everton Watford is on. As you mentioned, the lowest chances of the playing teams would be Liverpool, Man United, Spurs, West Ham, City, Brighton, Chelsea, Norwich, right? And Other teams that decently have a chance of playing is Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle Palace, Leicester, Brentford, and Wolves, Leeds. So hopefully that helps you kind of sort through what might happen in game week 30. Again, things change and who knows who wins. So something to watch out for there. I
Yeah.
think
So
we
before
can.
we go ahead,
Mhm.
just a couple of things I see on the chat. So I see Sean made a comment. So Arsenal can't double in game week 27. That's absolutely correct because
Mhm.
that's the week of the EFL final. We're talking about Arsenal's potential double in 26 against Liverpool, or very likely in 29 against Liverpool. So that's one thing that we wanted to answer. I see Harry here as well. Hey, Harry. When will we know game weeks 33, 36? So this is basically, according to Ben, we'll only know this in the March international break. So we're talking game week 31 and beyond. So there's no way if you wildcarded in game week 28 or even in 31 that you definitely know what's happening with 31 and 33 and 36. So there would be a little bit of, there would be a little bit of leap of faith, which is why I think game week 31 to 34, you just have to be open-minded right now on when you wildcard.
Okay, fantastic. So the next slide is when to bring in Salah. And, this is just a fixture ticker of Liverpool from game week 24 to 30 on the official, FPL app. And then also what I shared after is kind of, the gaps between the Champions League games, the FA Cup fourth round, and the Premier League games. So, it's too much to decipher just by watching. But later on, as I mentioned, it's good to kind of see the gaps between the teams for each team and see how much rest they have between the games. But yeah, so the question is, what do we do with Salah? Pras, I do. I mean, we pretty much answered the question throughout the episode today, but for me, I don't think he plays in 24 versus Leicester. Because
Think he starts or he's not even on the bench?
I think he'll be on the bench. I think he might start. We really don't know, right? 1 or 2 days for these Premier League guys is fine. Yeah, he's not. He's probably tired from all the games, and if you look at his minutes in the last month, 2 months, it's insane how much he's played. And travel is always tough. And I know this best because for someone like Sun who comes flying for A matches in Korea and then going back, I always see kind of fatigue in him, and it's also important to realize that some players react differently to fatigue. Some players actually perform better when they're, sort of in the motion of playing games constantly. And some players need rest. So I don't think it's very easy to determine whether he'll play well or not. The question is rather, when do we need him back in terms of FPL? Because in 25, the doubles are going to be the captainers in Bruno and Ronaldo most likely, right? So that gives you an excuse to sort of hold off till maybe 26, where he plays Norwich. And by the way, look at the dates. Friday 11th, Sunday 13th, between 24 and 25, which is basically 2 days. So we could assume that he's going to start against Burnley, but I think there's a very, very high chance that he's on the bench in game week 24. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think it's a very tricky one. There is more information to get. Like I said at the beginning of this video, what I know about Salah is he's not going to be well captained. So those people who think about risk management, a lot of Salah ownership is risk management, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
get many of his points anyway because of his EO. So what is it going to hurt you if Salah actually ends up starting against Leicester and scoring a brace? Actually, if you don't own him, it's not going to hurt you a lot. That's my prediction because I think, as I said, not many people will captain Salah against Leicester.
Yeah.
After that, I think is very interesting. I personally think that Salah in one game week against Burnley, if he starts, is better than a Bruno in a double. I mean, famous words, but I think so. Similarly, Salah in a single game week against who does he play in 26?
Norwich.
Norwich, exactly. So a home game against Norwich, I think, is better than a Sun a double, especially if one of those doubles is away to Man City and the other one is Brighton, which is also a good defense. So for me, Salah is coming into my team if I feel that Klopp is saying the right things in terms of fitness. I mean, if he starts saying, look, he's tired, he'll need his minutes will need to be managed and things like that. To be honest, these big players, they dictate how much they play anyway. A lot of it. I mean, you saw how Ronaldo reacted when he was subbed off. Salah hates to be subbed off as well. So if he gets his rest against Burnley, against Leicester in 24, for me, that's the ideal situation because then Klopp has given him a rest. He's then back, and then I back him to start a lot. So I'm not going to get him for Leicester in 24, but if he does miss out, I'm going to get him straight away, regardless of the Man United double.
I have three things I want to add here. Klopp might just implement him straight away versus Leicester. Klopp is a coach that wants to win, and Liverpool are title challengers, and he barely rotates in the Premier League. So we could see him slot right back into the team. You know that Salah's record versus Burnley is actually not great at all. Burnley is sort of the boogeyman team. I know you're nodding your head. I know it's Mohamed Salah. I know he's an amazing
I don't
player.
look at past games. I mean, to be honest, this matters. This is just a statistical anomaly. I mean, unless we think Burnley has some magic formula to stop Salah, I particularly don't put too much emphasis on that.
Okay, so just a fun fact to put out there, and so there we go on Salah. So what are you thinking right now? If you had to give an answer, Pras.
He'll come in straight after Leicester. Yeah,
Okay.
but if he plays Leicester, let's say he plays 90 minutes and he looks knackered, and Klopp says that, look, we had a draw today because both my guys are tired from AFCON, then I'll be a little bit more cautious. But now we're talking if and whatever. So we'll see. But I currently plan to get him in over Bruno and Son.
Okay, fantastic. And then I think we can move to the next slide, which is the double 25 assets to target. What do you think, Pras?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, if are you able to go back and we can just summarize the chips slide? I don't know if you're able to do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, back to it.
Okay, so now coming back to the original discussion, now we've talked about the key decision points on 27. We've talked about 30. We've talked about this wildcard window. So I'm going to summarize here. If you have both free hits left, the more traditional route will be free hit in the more painful game weeks like 27 and 30, and then you wildcard after, and then you bench boost in 36. We haven't talked about bench boost at all in this video because number one, it's very far off. And number two, we're expecting the bench boost to be so big that it will be, it'll be manageable, even if you wildcarded a few weeks before that. So that's the first traditional option. Second one is you free hit in 27, and then you basically wildcard in 28, and you load up on these on the Chelsea, the Chelsea defenders. You load up on all the good teams that we talked about in terms of good fixtures, and you get rid of West Ham, get rid of Man United, get rid of Watford, Everton. That would be the play. The other way is you just navigate 27, so you don't get Salah, and you dead end your team to 27. That's the third option here. So you wildcard in 28, you free hit still in 30, and now you have your free hit left for 33, 34. And I've used 33, 34 as that week where you're not going to bench boost, and you can still take advantage of lots of doubles and potential blanks, and people without free hit will basically not be able to do that. So for me, there are three windows for a free hit: 27, 30, 33, and 34, and some will argue 38, but I'm not a fan of that last game week free hit. So if you have one free hit, think about if you can dead end to one of them and then wildcard out. So that's almost like saving a free hit. If you have two, think about how you can maximize your team around those free hits, and then you wildcard more specifically for the bench boost. That's what we're trying to kind of think and get out of it. And then the last thing to note here is there's a lot of people on this, and there's a lot of videos done on this, on wildcard 24. And this is basically people over the break have decided my team looks rubbish. I've got two Watford attackers. I don't know how this has happened. I have two Everton attackers. I don't know how this has happened. And so they're saying, we're done. We want to maximize 25, 26, 27. This, I'm wildcarding. And this is the fact. A lot of people are on wildcard right now. So the question is, what do they do for that? So I think if you're on wildcard, you can still have an easy strategy of free hit 27, free hit 30, if you have two free hits left. Now, obviously, if you're wildcarding now, the dead end strategy doesn't really work. And somebody just said in the chat, I say dead end a lot. So yes, you can have your shot now. You can either, so that strategy is not viable if you're wildcarding now. So you have to basically think about either navigating 27. So don't go heavy on, if you're wildcarding now, don't go heavy on Liverpool and Arsenal for a start. So therefore, you're taking out free hit 27 out of the picture altogether. And you can't really navigate for 30 now because we just don't know. You're wildcarding today, you don't know which teams will make 30. So probably a better idea to save your free hit for the game week 30. and then you kind of just navigate the fixtures as they come along. But one piece of advice for wildcarders in 24 would be probably think about going Salah-less, probably think about going Jota-less.
Mm.
And that's a risk, I know. But if I was wildcarding, I would definitely do that. And I would sort of say, I'm moving off Liverpool, I'm moving off Arsenal, and I'm going to take a chance that they don't double in 26, because if they do, then I'm screwed. But that's basically my strategy, because then I can navigate 27 easily, and then I can get these guys back for 28, which is the big fixture swing. And if you need to take a couple of hits for this game week 28 fixture swing, then do that. So that would be my play if I was wildcarding.
Mm. I have two questions here. So first of all, if you're wildcarding this game week in 24, your obvious suggestion would be to not have Salah in your team, correct?
Yeah, no, because I don't think he
Okay.
will start, and I would rather position your team to be ready for. So I would have Bruno because he would play Burnley this week, and then you have the double, and then you have the ability to switch Bruno to a Son or potentially even a KDB. By the way, I think KDB again this week is the best captain
Yeah,
shout.
great option this week.
I'd rather have KDB over or Bruno over Salah if it doesn't look like he's starting.
This is more of a meta question for you at Pros. As you mentioned, take a couple of hits in 28, but I know you're not afraid to take hits early in the season, because early in the season we're trying to chase those price rises and increase our team value and try to get to the template quickly. But we're approaching the later part of the season. Is it okay to be taking -8s and mini wildcarding, all the way up to game week 28, 32, blah blah blah? Do you think it's okay?
I think leading to a double. So if you're basically you're getting a Liverpool because they have a double in 29, and you're taking a hit to get Salah back in after 27. I think there's a threshold. If you're taking a hit to get Lamptey and Trossard this week, then no, it's not
Right,
it's not the
right,
right
right.
time to take the hit. So basically, it really depends.
Mm. Yeah, and FPL Overthinker makes a great point. There are so many midfield options right now, so certainly maybe it is a viable option to move off Jota this week if you are wildcarding. Okay, so let's move to a very popular question, and again, I think we'll revisit this next game week. Next game week
Yeah.
prior to the 25 deadline. So, not too detailed. Kind of like briefly speak on it. I think the Man United ones are much more enticing. The Brighton assets are also interesting because they could double. However, I'm not so keen on the Brighton assets. I don't think there's many to go to. So maybe we could start with the Brighton assets. For me, it's very simple. If you need a striker, you could do Maupay. Hopefully, they double. He's been pretty decent. I think he has 3 assists in the last 2 or 3 game weeks. So he's sticking along. And defensively, I know Lamptey is a very good shout. I know he's exciting to have, but he's rotation risk, and I don't think I would go there. And the only option I see is possibly Cucurella or Dunk, but Dunk was recently rotated as well. And, Cucurella is okay, but he's had like 1 clean sheet in the last like 8 or 9 game weeks. He's had like 1 assist in the last 8 or 9 game weeks. Actually, I'm not so sure about the clean sheet part, but he hasn't had many clean sheets. And he's 5.1. It's very expensive. You would think that he's attacking because he looks like he's attacking, but he plays for Brighton, and he's not. Sorry, if you're listening. And he's not. He's not the great asset that he seems to be in terms of eye test. So I'm not sure I would go too heavy, but if anything for me, it would be Cucurella or Maupay. How about yourself, Pros?
I think Sanchez is another one as well. So
Oh,
people who are
Sanchez.
looking
Sorry. Yeah.
at a goalkeeper transfer, for me, it's always about Brighton defense in any double. And Brighton is especially interesting because they have the double, or they could have the double.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're getting. The way I think about it is every game week, even though there's a low chance, 4 games in 2 weeks. 4 games is basically 10% of the season. So you're getting 4 games of 2 game weeks from Brighton players. I'm not going to go crazy, but Brighton's defense is always there. Yes, they always concede. They end up not keeping the clean sheets and disappointing. But if you were to be completely just an analytical person and look at it, you want Brighton's defense for at least one of Brighton's defense for these fixtures. So I personally will definitely go for a Brighton defender. And I think if money is not an object, and personally I don't think money is an object because you have no Chelsea defenders in this period where Brighton is doubling. So you basically moving a James or an Alonso or whoever you have from Chelsea, Rudiger, to a Cucurella, I think is a fair play. I just think with
Question here,
Lamptey,
Pras.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry to cut you off.
Mhm.
Because you just mentioned that you're going to go for a Brighton defender in game week 25. Does that mean you're
Yeah,
going to take a hit to bring in Salah as well? Or would you, are you trying to save this game week?
I'm gonna save.
Okay,
My defense
gotcha.
looks better than yours. I know John is making a comment that your defense needs some surgery. We will perform that surgery, John, in,
Oh,
uh, in
God.
in about 10 minutes when we get to his defense. But my defense is actually I'm playing four at the back this week, and I'm benching James again. So I'll have two free transfers next week.
Okay, nice. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying was in terms of Brighton assets, I'm definitely looking at one. And but because they will play 4 games in 2 weeks, I'm a little bit hesitant to go too much on Brighton because Lamptey is a risk. So maybe Webster, maybe Cucurella, maybe Sanchez. But other than that, there's nobody even in the attack that I think is super nailed that's going to play all 4 games. So I would, I would fancy their defenders, and if you have appetite, even a double up if you wanted to.
By the way, I was on all above average FPL pod with Baker yesterday, and
Mhm.
Baker, obviously someone Baker and CY both great guys and great FPL managers. And Baker was actually mentioning that he would suggest a dunk and for a little bit cheaper, I think 4.8. So another interesting option there, but I'm not sure. I would try to save point 0.3 to get to dunk. I'd rather have Cucurella, who's a little
That's
bit
the
more.
thing. That's the
Hmm.
thing. Yeah. For
Hmm.
me, money. I don't think money is such a big object. So this is why I'm less keen. But then I think Asif makes a good point that we're in a time where there's still good defenders from other teams. So he's mentioned Dean, for
Exactly.
example.
Hmm.
I think, yeah. I mean, if you went Dean over Cucurella, I would probably understand it.
Hmm. Laporte as
So
well,
yeah.
possibly. Yep.
Sorry, Laporte as well. Yeah, Laporte as
Yep.
well. So Dean and Laporte, we talked about them in the last video that
Yep.
we did.
Yep.
I think they have outstanding fixtures. Both have attacking threat, and both actually ended up returning, right? I mean, so that was good that those are the two guys we shouted out last week,
This is
and none of us got them. But
so
yeah, I
painful.
think they're fair shouts as well.
So painful. I mean, we've been that was 2 weeks ago, right? And I was
Yeah.
in California, and even prior to that episode, I was so set on Laporte. I 100% knew I needed Laporte. It was just the play I wanted to do. I'd rather have two City defenders over a spread out City midfield points type of thing. And this whole Watford thing that got announced and trapped into Dennis, and I remember like madly texting you, oh, man, should I get Dennis? Should I not get Dennis? What should I do? And I cannot believe you went for Dennis because I thought Pross you would not go for him. And the minute I saw you go for
We're all
Dennis,
suckers for double game weeks,
yeah,
man. At least we didn't
exactly.
captain him. But
Mm,
yeah, this is what when I started the video, this is what I said. That's the part of the last period or the last phase that I didn't enjoy, where you couldn't go for you couldn't actually plan and get picks that you actually believe in based on stats, and you get blinded by double game weeks. Get player. I hate Gray. I don't know why Gray is in my team. I hate Dennis. I don't know why Dennis is in my team. So, and I'm not the only one. Everyone here is going through this issue where you're
yeah,
not able to get your Deans, your
yeah.
Fodens, better picks who will do better long term, and you're ending up with these idiots in your team. Sorry, Dennis, and I hope you're not listening.
Couple of good points here. I think it's FPL Overthinker John. John also we interact with quite a bit on Twitter, so shout out John. Mentioned as Laporte nailed once UCL comes back. I do agree with that because again, if you look at their fixture turnaround time, they have a lot of games coming up. So I definitely think that Laporte's going to get rotated, which is why I'm not sure I would go there anymore. I think Dean is much more of a viable pick if you do go for him this weekend. We will talk about it when we get to my team. Good shout out there. And yes, Cucurella does get a lot of bonus points. I am very aware of that. So a benefit to
Bruno
that.
makes the point that he has low goal involvement, but Bruno is his stats, man. I mean, you got to predict future returns with underlying stats, and he's got great stats.
Mm, fantastic. Yeah, and let's talk about the United assets, which is a lot more interesting. And I'm pretty clarified on what I think about these United assets and where I would go. And I know you're a huge United fan, and FPL Bruno, who's in the chat, also a huge United fan, shouted out Alanga yesterday, and I'm going to back that up today. Yeah, where do we begin? First, let's look at the assets that we most likely have in De Gea, Bruno, or Ronaldo. Right. So let's not talk too much about it. I think the only comparison there is Bruno versus Ronaldo. I do think personally that Bruno is a better option than Ronaldo at this point in time, but Ronaldo is Ronaldo, and he can start scoring goals anytime in the next 2 game weeks. So we'll see there. But basically, what I do like about Ralph is the fact that he's sort of adapted. He's tried the 4-2-2-2, 4-4-2, 4-4-2 diamond, 4-2-3-1 under Ole. And none of that worked. But recently, we've seen the 4-3-3, especially against Villa, Brentford, and I think it was West Ham last game week, right? Which is 2 number 8s and 1 number 6. And there were signs. First 30 minutes versus Villa, second half versus Brentford. And Rangnick literally came out and said, "We have now decided to play a 4-3-3 like we did against Villa, and with one holding 6 and 2 8s and 3 offensive players." So this is very, very interesting to me. And Bruno at Sporting in his unrestricted 4-3-3 was one of the most attacking sort of kind of creative midfielders. So it has unleashed him a little bit. It's given him a lot of freedom to roam around. If you look at his touch heat maps, he's all over the pitch, especially on the left side where he enjoys to create plays and stuff. And against Villa, his work rate was really high all over the pitch. So what I think about this 4-3-3 is the fact that it kind of enhances their attack, but it also exposes their defense because they do not have a solidified CDM. Fred and McTominay are rotating that position, but McTominay for me is best as a sort of attacking box-to-box midfielder. I do not think he's a CDM type of player. Fred also is good, but he makes a lot of very aggressive tackles, and he's not really a sweeper CDM type of player. So they will have to be very keen on sticking to some defensive duties for them to do well, because again, they're continuously pressing. They're trying to win the ball. They're trying to disrupt the passing lanes between the defenders, and they just have not been able to do that. But there's been signs under this 4-3-3. What this does for me is solidify Elanga as sort of almost not a lock, but a very highly locked position on that left wing. He started the last 3 games. Elanga's a very different type of player to the Rashford, to the Sancho, because he listens to Ralph. He does all the defensive duties. He comes back to help tell us out. And not only that, he's making those runs behind all the other players of the United attacking assets. Want the ball to the feet. They want to create. They want to dribble. But Elanga's willing to make those runs and kind of get in behind the defenders, as well as perform defensive duties. Another very underrated Elanga thing is the fact that he's pretty good in the aerial prowess, as well as he's not like a fancy type of player, but when he's running with the ball is very close to his feet, and he's very good at dribbling with the ball as well. So, young guy, boundless energy, and I do really like him as an option at 4.8. So, for me, it's De Gea, Bruno Ronaldo first, De Gea, and then possibly I would consider Elanga in game week 25. I do not recommend the defense at all. I just don't think there's anywhere to go to. I mean, Varane possibly. The wingbacks in Ralph's system in a 4-3-3 is supposed to be great because, they morph into sort of a diamond in the middle, and it's like, 5 guys attacking from all parts of all zones of the attacking area. But, I'm rambling here. They're too rotation proof, and we just don't know if they're going to start both games in the double game especially. So, a little bit of thinking here. What do you think, Pras?
Yeah, so I think De Gea is the number one guy. I agree with you, but he's obviously not captainable, or not necessarily captainable. I know many people did it. On defense, I agree with you. Other than Varane, no one's going to play 2 games, or no one is. We cannot rely on them to play 2 games. In midfield, I think Elanga is a fine shout, but
Fun
if you're
shout too.
only going, sorry.
A fun shout. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
If you're only going for Elanga as the only Man United attacker, then I'd worry. So he's not, for me, not captainable because he does work around a lot. I mean, the main thing he brings is energy, pressing. So he's the guy who's not in the box, but I mean, he did get this goal in the previous game week. But for me, he's fine. I mean, if you wanted to end up in a structure where you have a double attack and Elanga fits in alongside Bruno or Ronaldo, I think Elanga is fine. I think he should play. Um, but then it's between him, Rashford, and Sancho. And I think Rashford and Sancho might play one game each, and Elanga might play both. That's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a fair shout between Bruno and Ronaldo. So let's talk about Bruno first. So Pogba is back in training now. That doesn't reduce Bruno's minutes, but I think it reduces Bruno's appeal slightly. So if you went for three in midfield, even in the double, by the way, Bruno was coming back a lot. So it was, a lot of people got blinded by his returns, which were great, very well done. But he was actually tracking back by the second game a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that he's not the Bruno of last season, even in this system, which was back to what suited Bruno. So for me, he's not, don't expect the variance of 24 points that you had in the previous game week between any of these, whether it's Bruno or Ronaldo. I think Bruno will take along, maybe get a goal, maybe an assist. So it's a 10-pointer over the 2 weeks. And I think Ronaldo will be similar. He'll probably get a goal in the two. So we're not talking very high upside games because both Southampton and Brighton will give Man United a game. They're both, again, good pressing teams, good energy teams. Either of those teams can beat Man United, by the way. That's not saying much, unfortunately, but it is the case. Either of those teams can beat Man United, even though they're away from
Yeah,
home.
exactly. Mm.
So I would say tread with caution. You don't have to have a triple up. If you have a Bruno, stick with him. If you have a Ronaldo, stick with him. Pair him up with an Elanga if you want. If you have Bruno and Ronaldo, you have a decision to make if you wanted to switch to Salah or not. Maybe you'll end up keeping Bruno now because Salah won't play against Leicester. But this is the way I think I would think about it.
No, I mean, I think we're perfectly aligned. Again, the reason I'm shouting out Elanga is the fact that I do have Ronaldo, and even for those that have Bruno, you can just supplement him on top of those two assets. And again, I'm most likely going to wildcard out of it in 28, so it's a good short term shout because they do have good fixtures up to that point in time.
But then I ask you that,
Go ahead.
would you go Elanga and lose the opportunity cost of going Salah? So I won't do that, for example.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I'm just someone that loves to attack the double game weeks, and I mean, I might
I want you to
change.
go to a
Yeah.
mirror and say, I'm going to get Elanga instead of Salah, and then say that out
No.
3 times, and then we'll see if you still want to do it.
I mean, I'm just finding okay. Here's the actual reason why. Because for me to get Salah in 25, it is possible because I am going to make a transfer this game week. But it would have to be losing Jota or Foden between the two, and I'm not really sure I want to do that. I'm not completely convinced on it. I mean, yesterday, as I mentioned, was talking to Baker about Jota, and Jota has so many big chances. I mean, is he an asset that you really want to lose? And so, yeah, you put me on the spot here. But
No. Look, nobody's committing anything. I just wanted to kind of tease you a little bit on. It's when we think about double game week assets, we forget about who we are not going for. Last
sure.
week this happened, right? Last week this happened. We didn't go for Dean. We went for Dennis, and we got what we deserved. So what you have to think about is who am I sacrificing if I'm going for this third exciting, fun Man United pick, which I'm not going to double, which will double, but I'm not going to captain. So that's what I'm kind of trying to tease out.
I mean, let's just call it a luxury pick then, a luxury transfer for Gaming 25. Yeah. And guys, if you ever remember this episode in the next I think 2-3 weeks, and Elanga does perform fantastic in Gaming 25, please do remember FPL Bruno as well as I versus Pras on Salah versus Elanga. So
You guys are boxing yourselves into a langa.
I'm
I
so
like it.
screwed.
I'd rather own Salah, but anyway, this is what it's about. So we'll revisit it.
And John says Pross is the voice of reason and usually correct, and yet he went for Dennis last game week. So, yeah, not
I
sure
don't know
about
who
that.
saw my video of me jumping with joy when we had a meetup
I saw that. Yeah.
with some people, and even though I had Dennis, I was jumping for joy when he got the red card, obviously because of EO. But I just don't like the guy, and now it was I got him for an EO thing, and I was never going to captain him, but I wanted some piece of it because those were two great fixtures. But let's not reopen, or whatever you call it. Let's not reopen past ghosts or bring them back.
Well, Pross, I think we're in a good position because, as we know, Joshua King is going to deliver a hat trick for us this weekend. So, no doubt
He
about
will,
that.
yeah,
No doubt
he will
about that.
indeed.
Okay. I think we're past the hour 10 mark already. Oh, no, I did not add your video. 1 second, guys. Yep.
What
Okay,
video?
there we go. So we have actually my team here first this week. Very simple. I need to make a defensive transfer because as much as I would like to sort of, because all the fixtures for the remaining players are great. However, because I have Livramento and two Chelsea boys, I have two defenders, and I just end up having to make a defensive transfer. And Brighton do blank, so no need to go to Cucurella this week. Ideally, you're thinking, get rid of Alonso over Reece James. However, now I'm now I'm thinking, sorry, get rid of Reece James over Alonso. But I do hear that Reece James is back in training, so I'm now thinking of getting rid of Alonso over Reece James first.
I don't think that matters. You're gonna get rid of both
Both
of
of
them
them, yeah, yeah,
before,
yeah.
so it doesn't matter.
So this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to go to either Alonso or James to Digne, and not go to Laporte. I do think that Champions League's going to make him a rotation risk. And I think Digne locked now with Target gone to Newcastle. He did get that assist. So Aston Villa looked pretty good. I think, in that Christmas tree, 4-3-2-1 formation, it allows for Digne to make those starting runs. He's going to be making a lot of good crosses, and Aston Villa do look good with their fixtures. And so that's my thinking here. What do you think, Pras?
Look, I think you're locked. You have to. It's a very tricky one because you have to go for a defensive transfer, but you can't go for Brighton, right? Because then you still need a playing player.
Exactly.
So you're in that classic boat of you can't get a double game weeker even if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only other one I would think is maybe Varane, but then it spoils your Langa party. But I think Dean's a great shout, and he could, even in the single game week, outscore many other players. So I agree with you between Laporte and Dean. I think at this stage, given the Champions League, I would err towards Dean. So yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, and also the reason why I need to go to Dean is also it allows me to have the option to go to Salah through Foden or Jota in Game Week 25. So I'll have 5-something million in the bank. So that's key. I just don't like the fact that I have two Watford boys in there as well as.
Yeah. So what's your plan with them?
I think I'm going to do Maupay. I think that's what I'm thinking for Game Week 25.
So that would be it. So basically you'd go. So then where does Elanga come in?
I think I'm going to take a hit and get two double game weekers in either Maupay plus Cucurella or maybe Elanga plus Cucurella. I think Josh King is a solid option just to have for the next few game weeks until I wildcard out of it. Dennis is a problem. Dennis the Menace, and I do want to get rid of him. But does Maupay excite you at all? Not at all for me. So
he's fine. He missed the second. Didn't he miss the second game because he keeps playing? But Welbeck is now fit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's still the main guy, so he's fine. But I don't like Brighton's attack as much. But look, it's a double, right? I mean, as I said, it's a double. So it's
Double,
worth,
yeah.
or it could be a double. So it could be worth going for. I don't love it, to be honest. But look, what can you say? It is what it is. I mean, if I was, I'm not going to give you hindsight advice, but last week, then even more so. I mean, my team looks good this week, so I had the luxury move of going Dennis. I mean, it's at these moments where you have to kind of think in the future of, do you really want two Watford attackers when your defense is so badly hit? That would have been one consideration. But look, I think where you are now, it's absolutely fine. But you're basically almost committing to a no Salah strategy, which for me is a little bit worrying. Where you are committed, or if you go for Salah and you change your mind, then your double team isn't so optimal, and that's all because this week you're stuck a little bit,
Yep.
and you can't go for a Brighton defender, which you have to do next week. So
Exactly. Do you see?
that's not ideal.
Yeah.
That's not ideal.
Do you see the logic of why I'm trying to delay the Salah transfer as much as possible because of the fact that, you know, I'm locked into a move this week that I can't do anything else about. I mean, yeah, Varane I could go for, but you know I'm not going to go there and Brighton blank. So unfortunately, I need a defender and I need to get Digne in. And then next game week, I'm gonna probably want more than how many do I have? Maybe two or three key double game weekers. So that's kind of
But
why
the
I want to
problem I have
delay.
with Mopé is there's so many other better attackers. Just because he's got a double,
Uh huh.
you'll be sitting here in 2 weeks and saying, how did I have Dennis? And then how did I end up with Dennis to Mopé when, I could have gone Weghurst, I could have gone Edward, I could have gone even Saint Maximin with, hopefully the team performing better just because they didn't have the double. So
Yep.
it's that double game week trap that you
Trap.
need to avoid, which you are doing with Dean. But let's see where it is. Look, every week we'll give new information. People need to also remember, by the way, that there will be FA Cup games in on the weekend before the deadline.
Yeah.
So there could be potential injuries with Man City. You never know. I mean, if Laporte gets his rest, then maybe he's the pick, right? So there's still a lot of play to happen before we lock anything in. But I think it's nice when we discuss bus teams to talk about our thinking.
Clarify the last statement I'll make before we get to your team is I'm not preaching for Malpe at all. It's just it's
You
just an
have done it. Elanga and Mope are your picks
no,
now.
no, no, no,
You
no.
have to go with them.
Let's clarify this. I'm not preaching for Malpe, but I am on the Elanga train and Elanga all the way. That's my new favorite player after Son. So hopefully he does perform, or else I'm kind of screwed. So next is Process Team. We don't have your bench here for some reason, but um,
Yeah, so on the bench are the two woes of shame, which is King and Dennis, and then I think James. So yeah, bench is fairly irrelevant. I mean, if the Watford boys come in for whatever reason, then that's fine. But so my team is De Gea in goal. So I have Ramsdale on the bench, who I'm going to bench against Wolves. Even though Wolves' attack isn't the great, I think Burnley is even worse. So I'm going with De Gea. I have Trent. I have Cancelo, which everyone does. And then I have my two favorite boys, Davis and Dallo, who have kept me well. And look, Davis is playing Southampton at home. Dallo has Burnley away. If Dallo misses out, then that's fine. I'll have King coming on. But I'm happy to go with a double up for Burnley. Um, and I'll also get to see how Burnley play this weekend. If they're looking a little better, then I may change my mind. I may start King over Dallo. I may start Ramsdale over De Gea. But that's my defensive thinking. But in a nutshell, I have lots of options. So for me, I don't need to make a transfer there. Then in midfield, I have Martinelli against Wolves, Bowen against Watford, Foden against Brentford, Jota against Leicester, and Gray against Newcastle. So I like the fixtures of all the five midfielders. So there's no need for me to sell any one of them this week for Salah. If I was to, maybe it'll be Gray. But it goes back to my thinking of what is my chip strategy. And because I'm thinking free hits 27, I will probably hold Martinelli and sell Gray. If I was not thinking free hit 37, I would have sold 27. I would have sold Martinelli because Arsenal will have a blank and kept Gray. So that's basically why I think, and in a lot of these videos, we'll start out with the big picture, is because even transfers today should be influenced by what is your potential strategy. It can change, but at least have a plan in mind. So for me, I'm going to keep Martinelli and sell Gray next week for Salah. And next week I'll do, wishful thinking right now that nothing has changed. But next week I might look to do Gray to Salah and James to Cucurella.
Okay, so a couple things here. First of all, I know you have Ramsdale as well, right? So
Yeah.
you're starting De Gea over Ramsdale. I'm starting Ramsdale over De Gea. What's your reasoning?
It's just Burnley. It's just I think Burnley are not so great, and Wolves are slightly better. Um, nothing more to it. It's just a bus team right now. I'll look at the clean sheet odds in due course and things like that.
Mm,
But I think if you're not going to play your defenders and your goalkeepers against a bottom three team, then you shouldn't probably have them. So I think I personally prefer Burnley to a Wolves attack. And then, of course, it comes down to the fact that over the last couple of weeks, yes, we've ended up conceding against Wolves. When I see Man United have ended up conceding against Wolves, and I think I forget what the next game was, but defensively things are looking slightly better with the change of structure. Elanga with the more hardworking midfielder, people are getting more of the ethos. It's not translated into statistics. I looked at it. There's nothing in XG conceded that I can throw at and say Man United are defending better. But I feel against Burnley, I'm happy to back them.
okay, and then you have the captaincy on Ronaldo. Very interested to hear your thinking here.
Not decided yet. I
Okay,
think
okay,
this was it will be between Foden. So if Foden misses out in the FA Cup game, is rested, then I'll be much more confident in Foden. But with City assets, unless it's De Bruyne, I'm just always nervous. So I'd
yeah,
hate to
very
have a cameo
nervous.
from Foden. Even Bowen against Watford looks good, but then they've had the change in manager, so Roy Hodgson is slightly more pragmatic. So I don't expect a lot of leaky Watford defense performance going forward. Jota against Leicester is an option. So I like the team a lot. So lots of captaincy options. But right now I'm going with Ronaldo as just the bus team hold.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun game week. A lot of good matchups and a lot of open decisions. And I think the captaincy is going to be quite spread out. I mean, Bowen could be a good shout. Foden, Cancelo, even Trent. Who knows? There's so many options this game week. Bruno, Ronaldo. So yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah. I mean,
interested.
John makes the point that if you're playing Dallo, wouldn't it better to play Ramsdale instead? I generally don't think like that. For me, I'm a probabilities guy. So the probability of a Man United clean sheet is, let's say, 45%, and an Arsenal clean sheet is 30%. Then having two that have 45% and 45% is better than having one with 45 and 30, right? So I don't think like that. I do get all eggs in basket and stuff like that, but I'm happy to back a higher percentage clean sheet over diversifying risk, for example.
I'm personally on the Ramsdale train right now. I think it's going to be a Ramsdale versus De Gea this week. Wolves are good, but they're a good defensive team. That it's not like they score a bunch of goals, and
Sure.
Ramsdale is the Martinez of this season. You just know he's going to get that 8 pointer with a clean sheet and 2 bonus points. So good luck with De Gea over there with your 4 points because Team Ramsdale, let's go. So yeah,
I
it's
can
been
still
a
change my mind. You don't need. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see close to the deadline.
So yeah, today's episode is wrapped up. A lot of fun talking points towards the end. I know we're joking around with the Alanga thing, but if you guys do want to go back and listen to the beginning portion, Pras does a very very good job of helping us organize through sort of the chip strategies, and of course we have to start thinking about it, especially because most of us engaged managers probably have most, if not all chips remaining. So this will be a very, very important part of the season. Normality is assumed to resume, and hopefully we can get a green arrow and crack into the top 10K. I mean, it'd be awesome to do that, but one good decision at a time and one week at a time is what I can say. Thank you so much for listening. Pros, any last words before we wrap it up?
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure as always, and thank you everyone who's joined live, and thank you everyone who's listening or watching later.
Yeah, thank you guys. And we will be back next week, Wednesday, with another Burning Question series.